Emily Carter, a bright-eyed 7-year-old, loved playing fetch with her golden retriever, Buddy, at Meadowbrook Park. The park, with its sprawling oak trees and vibrant green grass, was their sanctuary. This particular Tuesday afternoon was no different. The sun shone warmly, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, and the air was filled with children's laughter. Emily, dressed in her favorite yellow sundress, giggled as Buddy bounded after the bright red ball she'd thrown. Buddy, his tail wagging furiously, returned with the slobbery ball, dropping it at Emily's feet with a happy bark. Emily's mother, Sarah, watched from a nearby bench, a content smile gracing her lips. The park was bustling with activity, families picnicking, children playing on the swings, and couples strolling hand in hand. Lost in the rhythm of the game, Emily and Buddy ventured a little further from Sarah's watchful eye. Sarah, momentarily distracted, looked up to check on Emily, but she was gone. Sarah's initial reaction was disbelief. She couldn't comprehend how Emily could have disappeared so quickly. She called out her daughter's name, her voice laced with increasing desperation. The other park-goers, sensing her distress, joined the search. The cheerful atmosphere of the park evaporated, replaced by a palpable sense of fear and urgency. The police were called, and soon the park was swarming with officers. They questioned witnesses, searched the surrounding area, and brought in sniffer dogs. But there was no sign of Emily or Buddy. The sniffer dogs lost Emily's scent at the edge of the park, near a busy road. The only clue was a discarded red ball lying abandoned near the trees where Emily was last seen. As the hours ticked by, Sarah's hope began to dwindle. She clung to the belief that Emily was still alive, but the gnawing fear of the unknown was overwhelming. Her husband David arrived at the park, his face etched with worry. Together they endured the agonizing wait, clinging to each other for support. The news of Emily's disappearance spread like wildfire through the small town. The first 48 hours in a missing persons case are critical, and the police worked tirelessly to follow every lead. They interviewed park visitors, reviewed security footage from nearby businesses, and investigated any potential sightings of Emily. But every avenue led to a dead end. There were no witnesses to the abduction, no suspicious vehicles reported, and no ransom demands. The lack of evidence was baffling and frustrating. The Carter family's anguish deepened with each passing hour. Sleep became a luxury they couldn't afford, their minds racing with endless possibilities. They replayed the events of that afternoon over and over, searching for any detail they might have missed. Every phone call, every knock on the door brought a flicker of hope, only to be dashed by disappointment. The media attention intensified, with reporters camped outside the Carters' home, clamoring for updates. The search expanded beyond the local area, with law enforcement agencies across the state joining the effort. The FBI was brought in, and a nationwide Amber Alert was issued. The days that followed blurred into an agonizing cycle of hope and despair. The Carter family continued to hold on to the belief that Emily would be found, but the reality of her prolonged absence began to sink in. The vibrant, energetic little girl they knew seemed like a distant memory. They clung to her belongings, her favorite toys, her drawings, as if they were tangible pieces of her presence. The community's support remained unwavering, but the initial frenzy of the search began to subside. The search parties dwindled, the flyers faded, and the media attention shifted to other stories. The world seemed to move on, but for the Carter family, time stood still. They were trapped in a nightmare, unable to escape the relentless grip of grief and uncertainty. Sarah and David found solace in each other's arms, their shared pain creating an unbreakable bond. They refused to give up hope, even as the days turned into weeks. On the 12th day, a seemingly insignificant tip led to a breakthrough. A local hiker reported seeing a young girl matching Emily's description near an abandoned cabin deep in the woods. After seeing Emily's picture on the news, he decided to contact the police. The information offered a glimmer of hope in the bleak investigation. The police immediately dispatched a search team to the area. The terrain was rugged and dense, making the search challenging. They noticed a faint trail leading towards a small, dilapidated cabin. A sense of anticipation filled the air. Could this be where Emily had been held captive? As they approached, they heard the faint sound of a dog barking. The officers exchanged glances, their hearts pounding. The barking grew louder, confirming their suspicions. They cautiously approached the cabin, their hands hovering over their holsters. They peered through a grimy window and saw a young girl playing with a golden retriever. It was Emily. The cabin was small and sparsely furnished, with only a makeshift bed, a table, and a few chairs. The walls were covered in strange symbols and drawings, creating an unsettling atmosphere. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and something indefinable, something that sent shivers down the spines of the officers. Emily, though physically unharmed, appeared withdrawn and quiet. She clung to the officer, her small body trembling. The trauma of the past 12 days was evident in her vacant stare and her reluctance to speak. Buddy, however, seemed unaffected by the ordeal, his joyful barks echoing through the cabin. The woman who had taken Emily remained silent, her eyes darting around the room. She seemed detached from reality, lost in her own world. The officers attempted to question her, but her responses were incoherent and rambling. The scene inside the cabin raised more questions than it answered. As the police delved deeper into the woman's background, a disturbing picture began to emerge. Her name was Margaret, and she had a history of mental illness. She had lost her own daughter years ago in a tragic accident, a loss that had shattered her sanity. She believed that Emily was her daughter, returned to her by extraterrestrial beings. Margaret's delusion was so deeply ingrained that she genuinely believed her own story. She had created a fantastical narrative in her mind. A world where aliens had stolen her daughter and replaced her with an imposter. In her twisted reality, Emily was the real daughter, and she had been on a mission to rescue her. Her actions, though misguided and dangerous, stemmed from a place of profound grief and delusion. The officers realized that she posed no immediate threat to Emily, but her mental state was clearly unstable. They arranged for her to be evaluated by a psychiatrist, hoping to understand the depths of her delusion. Emily's return home was a moment of overwhelming joy and relief for the Carter family. They embraced her tightly, showering her with kisses and tears. Buddy, equally ecstatic, jumped around them, barking happily. The nightmare was finally over, and their family was whole again. The silence in their home was replaced by the joyous sounds of laughter and reunion. However, the ordeal had left its mark on Emily. She was quiet and withdrawn, her eyes holding a sadness that belied her young age. She had difficulty sleeping, plagued by nightmares of the cabin and the strange woman who had held her captive. The trauma she had endured would take time to heal, and her parents knew they had to be patient and supportive. The community rejoiced at Emily's safe return, organizing a welcome home celebration. The Carter family expressed their gratitude to the police, the community, and everyone who had helped bring their daughter home. Despite the happy ending, the experience had changed the Carter family forever. And while Emily's safe return brought closure to the immediate crisis, it also left a lingering sense of mystery. Margaret's claims, though rooted in delusion, raised unsettling questions. The strange symbols on the walls of the cabin remained unexplained, their meaning lost in the labyrinth of Margaret's mind. Were they merely the ramblings of a disturbed woman, or did they hold a deeper significance? The police investigated the symbols, consulting with experts in various fields, but they couldn't find any definitive answers. Some speculated that they were related to Margaret's delusion, while others suggested they might be connected to some obscure occult practice. The lack of a clear explanation only fueled the mystery surrounding the case. Another unanswered question was how Emily and Buddy managed to survive for 12 days in the wilderness. The cabin was remote and isolated, with no readily available food or water. Did Margaret, in her deluded state, manage to provide for them? Or was there another explanation, a more mysterious force at play? The mystery of Emily's disappearance, though officially resolved, continued to haunt the small town. Despite the official explanation, doubts lingered in the minds of many. Margaret's story, though fantastical, had a certain resonance. Her unwavering belief in her delusion, the strange symbols in the cabin, and the unexplained circumstances of Emily's survival all contributed to a sense of unease. Could there be more to the story than the police had uncovered? Sarah and David, though grateful for Emily's safe return, couldn't shake off a nagging feeling of uncertainty. They had seen the look in Margaret's eyes, the conviction in her voice. They had seen the strange drawings on the walls of the cabin. They couldn't dismiss the possibility that something inexplicable had happened, something that defied rational explanation. The lingering doubts fueled a quiet investigation of their own. They researched Margaret's background, delving into her past, searching for any clues that might shed light on her delusion. They visited the cabin, trying to decipher the meaning of the symbols. Their search for truth became a personal quest, a way to make sense of the trauma they had endured. The mystery of Emily's disappearance, though officially closed, remained open in their hearts.